All of his essays are hot garbage. Hello, welcome to I Read This Book with Chris. With me, Chris. Today, we'll be discussing The Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut. While discussing this, I will be drinking a grapefruit vodka tonic, which is exactly as sour and bitter as you imagine it to be. So I am slightly sick, so if my voice sounds a little weird, that's why. Sirens of Titan by Kurt Vonnegut. I don't know if you know much about Kurt Vonnegut. Pick up basically anything you find of his. Any of his novels, that everyone that I've read so far has been great. I have a collection of his essays. All of his essays are hot garbage. I have this opinion. A lot of people disagree with me, including Craig. Hi, Craig. You're probably not watching this. Artists should not talk about their thoughts about things. Artists should make art. If you have thoughts about things, talk about your thoughts about things. Most of the time, people who know about things, they're able to discuss it in a clear manner, not create art. And most of the time, people who create art, especially high caliber, whose name is known for ages, most of those people, whenever they try to discuss things, their caliber of discussing has not at all to do with their caliber of art. So, do not read his essays. They suck. The Sirens of Titan was copyright 1959. This is the first Dell paperback edition from 1966. Sirens of Titan is a story about free will and nihilism. There'll be a lot of things that I sort of skim over because I don't think they get to the real point of this book. I think they are necessary, and I think when you're reading it, it'll bring you on a journey, but I don't know that they are currently worth discussing. I mean, I skim over things and everything. If I do a 300-page book in 10 minutes, sort of skimming over. What happens in The Sirens of Titan? The world's richest man, Malachi Constant, is rich due to luck, blind luck. His father was a traveling salesman, saved up some money, started playing in the stock market, got rich, insanely rich. He created a company to handle his riches, knocked up a maid, house cleaner. Out comes Malachi. Malachi, born, rich, bad relationship with his father, but inherits the wealth young when his father dies. All of a sudden, bad fortune comes, loses everything. When he loses everything, some people come to him and tell him, hey, we are Martians, we want you to join our army, and we will make you, a commander in our army. He says, okay. He is brought to Mars to join the Martian army. The Martian army is made up of a bunch of people who are kidnapped from Earth. Some of them come voluntarily, some of them not so much. Once they get there, they have their minds erased, and then antennas put inside where they are then controlled by remote control. So they have hundreds of thousands of people on Mars to create an army to invade the Earth. Earth comes, invades the Earth, invasion fails. Basically, they all die. All of this is devised, planned by Winston Niles Rumford. Winston Niles Rumford is a rich man, a wasp, basically, who is the first man to try to go to Mars. As he's flying through space, he flies through a chronosynclastic infundibulum, which is this weird section of space-time that basically turns him into a wave phenomena between the sun and some star somewhere. Which star they say it is. So whenever the Earth or any planet or anything passes through this, he will appear. So he appears on Earth every 110 days and however many hours. He appears on Mars every certain period of time. He's constantly on Titan for whatever reason. In passing through this, he has knowledge of everything that he experiences in the past and the future. And since there can be multiple of him at the same time, since he's always on Titan and he's sometimes on Earth, he has knowledge of what his other ones of him are doing. But since it doesn't really matter, and since he knows the past and the future, he uses this knowledge and the fact that he's on Titan to create the Martian army. He uses the Martian army, kidnaps all these people, brings them to Mars to bring them to invade Earth, in order for this invasion to fail, in order that he can create a new religion. The religion is called the Church of God, the Utterly Indifferent. This religion that he creates is basically saying some people are lucky and some people are unlucky. God doesn't really care. And in order for us to make things right, any benefit that you have on the earth now, you need to get rid of. So if you're strong, then you just carry weights around to slow you down. You have good vision, you put on glasses if someone has bad vision, which then makes your vision worse. If you're attractive, you always make sure you wear unattractive clothes. All of these things to try to balance out the luck that we've all been given. So Rumford, this guy who's in multiple places at once and can see the past and the future, uses his knowledge of the past and the future to create the Martians, to have them invade, knowing that once they invade, their invasion will fail, and uses this to gain sympathy in order to create his religion. One of the people that he messes around with is Malachi, who is taken into the Martian army as a commander. He then has his mind wiped, becomes a grunt who becomes known by the name of Unk, who gets lost on Mercury, manages to come back to Earth several years later, after this religion is created, several years after the rest of the invasion has already happened, and everyone has died from it. All as an example for the people of his religion. Say, hey, this is what's going on. This was your Malachi, the person who had all this luck, and now his luck is gone because of all these horrible things that have happened to him. So Malachi and his wife and his child that he got on Mars are then all sent off to Titan. Once we get to Titan, we then learn that all of this that we thought was controlled by Rumford, who we thought, hey, this guy is kind of a god, he can see the past and the future, he can create a religion to control everything that he wants. None of that actually matters. All of that was created by Tralfamadorians. On Titan, which is a moon out there, we meet Salo. Salo is a Tralfamadorian. He's from Tralfamador. He is on a mission by himself through space, traveling very fast. Part of his spaceship breaks, and he is stranded on Titan 200,000 years ago, 150,000 light years away from Chalmafador. So he messages back to them saying, hey, this piece is broken. And they, from 150,000 light years away, control the history of the Earth in order so everything happens in such a way that Rumford comes into being, goes into the thing, creates his religion. Creating his religion creates Malachi. Takes Malachi, sends him out so that Malachi can go have a son, and his son can pick up a piece of scrap metal on Mars, which he then carries with him to the invasion on Earth that he survives, which is, so then when he's then sent to Titan, this little piece of scrap metal can then be used by Salos, the Tralfamador Dorian, to fix his spaceship so that he can travel and continue on his journey. He's been waiting there for 200,000 years, but that's alright because Salos is immortal. How is Salos immortal? Well, because he's a machine. He's a machine from Chalmafador, and we learn that the history of his planet. So this is the story of what happened on Chalmafador. Once upon a time on Tralfamador, there were creatures who weren't anything like machines. They weren't dependable, they weren't efficient, they weren't predictable, they weren't durable. And these poor creatures were obsessed by the idea that everything that existed had to have a purpose, and that some purposes were higher than others. These creatures spent most of their time trying to find out what their purpose was. And every time they found out what seemed to be a purpose of themselves, the purpose seemed so low that the creatures were filled with disgust and shame. And rather than serve such a low purpose, the creatures would make a machine to serve it. It left the creatures free to serve higher purposes. But whenever they found a higher purpose, the purpose still wasn't high enough. So the machines were made to serve higher purposes too, and the machines did everything so expertly, they were finally given the job of finding out what the highest purpose of the creatures could be. The machines reported that in all honesty, the creatures couldn't really be said to have any purpose at all. These creatures, thereupon, began slaying each other because they hated purposeless things above all else. And they discovered they weren't even very good at slaying. So they turned that job over to the machines too. And the machines finished up the job in less time than it takes to say Tralfamador. People looking for purpose created machines, realized they had no purpose, had the machines kill them. And so this planet full of machines, several hundreds of thousand light years away, through some superior technology, able to change the history of Earth, create the history of Earth, in order that they can go and get a piece of of their spaceship that broke. They aren't people, they're machines. They were created by people who then ended up getting killed by the machines because they couldn't deal with the fact there was no purpose to life. And this task, this mission that Salos is on, is to carry a message to the opposite side of the universe. He's stuck on Titan for a while, and as soon as Rumford goes through the chronosynclastic infundibulum, he ends up on Titan, since he's always on Titan, becomes friends with Salos. He learns everything about Charles Famador and gets upset that his whole life, his whole purpose and everything is a sham. And so then asks Salos, can you at least tell me what this message that's so important that your people are sending across the universe? They then went and changed the history of, not only changed my history, but changed the whole history of Earth from 50,000 years ago into now, which is all of human history. Tell me what that message is. What is so important? But before Salos gives in, a sunstorm happens, knocks whatever strange thing that is Rumford off, knocks him loose of our solar system, so he's floating away through the galaxy, whatever wave system or whatever he is. Salos breaks down, opens up his message that he hasn't opened up for over 200,000 years, and realizes the message is greetings. That's what the message says, greetings. This book is like an onion. You open it up. Why is Malachi the way he is? Why is he rich? Why does he become poor? Why is he sent to Mars? Apparently, it's also that he's super lucky, becomes unlucky, so that he can then become the example, or Rumford, to create his religion on, to say, this is the exact opposite of what we're looking for. This is what we're trying to cancel out. Either his highs or his lows. Let's try to just go and make everyone equal and fair. So you think that he's being controlled by this person who has knowledge of the future and the past, can be there and suddenly he's not there. Sort of godlike being. Part man, part prophet, God, whatever. Except he's not controlled by that. He's controlled by creatures so far away. And everything you know, this is what nihilism is. Which is, the more you try to break down what is the purpose of life, what is the meaning, why am I here, you either get no answer, or as you keep going back and deeper, you keep peeling it back, you get more convoluted and crazy, and then you realize the meaning of my life is that I'm a cog in a machine, so that some machines that killed off their creators can say greetings to some possible beings that they don't know exist on the opposite side of the universe, which is nihilism, which is, this is what life is. If there is a God, life can have meaning because God created these people, these beings, to have a purpose, whatever this purpose is, to create other people, or to worship them, or to serve God, or to worship God, or whatever your religion may say about the purpose. But if there is no God, and we live in a world without a God, and if there are other, then this book explains the state of the world, which is nihilistic, which is cynical. Kurt Vonnegut is a very cynical leftist from the 60s. Rails against God and religions, very cynical against those. He's very cynical about having money. His example of the person who has money, the only reason he has money is because he's lucky, and the reason he's lucky is because his father was lucky. It's got nothing to do with anything. Things out of his control. The person who you then think has power and knowledge, God doesn't have any ability to do anything, because since he knows the past and the future, he's forced to be on this route that he's on. There's no free will. It is beautiful and dark and disturbing because life has no meaning. I am a Christian. I think there is a God, and I think that if there is no God, nihilism has to be true. And I think Vonnegut here does a perfect job of summing up what it would be like to exist in a universe with no meaning. Pick it up, be a nihilist. Oh, and why is it called Sirens of Titan? Because early on in the book, Rumford tries to entice Malachi to go to Mars by showing him a picture of these sirens, these most beautiful people that are on Titan. Except these people that are on Titan aren't people, they are statues that are sculpted by Salos. So if heaven exists, I guess this is the cynical look on that, you're doing everything you're doing in order to get to Titan, because Titan is where you think there are these beauties, this life, this perfect life set out for you. They are like the sirens of old that draw you in, except those aren't real either, because these aren't people that are beautiful that are waiting for him. They're just sculptures, fake. Alrighty, well, thank you for watching. Give it a thumbs up. Tell me your thoughts on Vonnegut or on this book, Sirens of Titan. Have a good night.